So, welcome to the Sunday afternoon call. It's 4:07 in Thailand, and today we'll give a topic or a actual name to this talk, and the name of it is going to be "Taking Care of Business." And basically, what we mean by that is taking care of the body, taking care of the business of the body. Because uh, when you're happy and healthy and fear has gone away, the mind really doesn't have any more business. But the body will continue to have business. And so today's talk is going to be about taking care of the business or taking care of the body. So, we can introduce this topic by talking about what is referred to as the four requisites. Now, the four requisites are mentioned in the Sabba-Asava Sutta, number 2 in the Majjhima Nikaya, in the sense of um, removing defilements by doing, by taking care of the body. And so there are four requisites. And those four requisites are taking care of housing, to where we have not a mansion, not a White House, but just enough housing. And probably the way that you could look at it is whatever housing you have now, that's good enough, because changing housing is a lot of work. And so whatever you have now is good enough. Uh, but in the sutras, it talks about the reason that we have housing is so that we can feel safe. We can feel safe even during weather or animals and thieves coming. It's a whole lot better. In fact, it would be dangerous for anyone to live in a tent in a city, because it's got no security at all. But if you have adequate housing, that means that the building is relatively safe. Now, one of the things that I can say about the kutis that the monks stay in Thailand, and I remember well in Wat Suan Mook, that the kutis, their safety was relative, that some of the roofs would leak, but you could find a dry spot on the floor. And you could lock the door and it closed the windows to make the place safe. But if you leave a window open, you might come back to a cobra or a large rodent in the of the room, and so it's better to close it down, to lock the doors. And so this is what we're actually meaning about taking care of business of the body, is to have a secure place to stay. Now, luckily enough, that's exactly what the Buddha intended for the monks in the time when he started the Sangha. He started it in order for the monks. In fact, he started the Sangha, and then people call themselves monks, but the word monk is actually a Christian word, and that it's not really appropriate to use the word monk. The correct word is bhikkhu, and that many lay people, in fact, in Thailand, come and live with the monks and live like a bhikkhu. But that the important point is that the Wat, or the community of monks, or the community of bhikkhus, would be a safe place to stay, safe place to bed down at night. And this is an important point. This is why we're calling it taking care of business, is because in the suttas it's referred to as um, a requisite or a requirement that we have adequate housing. We also need to have adequate food. And so, in the time of Buddha, and in fact, quite commonly in many places in Asia, though not so much in the West, that people would beg for food. Now, we talk about the word beg, but the monks didn't ever beg. They didn't ever ask for food. They just walked around with the bowl, and anybody who wanted to put food in the bowl was allowed to do so, which is different than actually begging. And so it's not a good idea to call it a begging bowl. It's just a bowl. In fact, it's not even a bowl. It's much more like a pot, is the way that it's structured. But this is what we can see then is that the bhikkhus had a way of getting groceries because they would go out in groups with their bowls and the lay people would feed them. We also have a requirement or a requisite for adequate clothing, that the sun is hot, that the flies and the mosquitoes are out, and there's many different kinds of dangers that can happen when we don't have adequate clothing. For some reason, I don't know if exactly why, but humans have lost their fur. And I can tell with cats and dogs, and I appreciate for almost all furry creatures, is that their fur is a kind of clothing that they wear. And yet humans don't have that fur. And so we use products like animal fur or cotton, and nowadays we have polyester. Now, in the time of the Buddha, the clothing was almost all cotton, which meant that it lasted only a short period of time. That generally, because the rains and the monsoon season where the Buddha was located was so heavy, so severe, that almost everybody's clothing got rotten. And so everybody changed their garments once a year, and that the leftovers then went to the monks so that they could cut and stitch on a loom called katine or a katina, and use what left of the cloth that was good. Nowadays, because we have polyester, monks' robes can last for 10, 20 years. There's no reason for a monk to change his robes because they're so long lasting now. But the issue of why have the robes is the same as it's always been, and that many different traditions throughout the world of the Buddha Sangha is that they will wear clothing that is a little bit more acceptable to the locals. Zen in Japan and Korea, they have regular clothing, and so also in China, but it gets kind of dated. But the Southeast Asia, the typical robes that they wore in the time of the Buddha have become sort of standard as a tradition. And so that's the way that the monks are dressed, kind of as a distinctive style, so that the lay people can be dressed almost any way at all, from an army uniform to a stewardess, flight stewardess, or anything else, but they're all distinctive because of the color and the shape of the robes. But the monks' robes are very, very distinctive in Thailand. And so they continue to wear those robes, but there's no real reason for it. There's very little about it. And one of the things is that there is a big, heavy, in fact, it's the double robe. It's two robes that are sewn together, and this is called the Sangati. And when monks are out, they will wear that Sangati across the shoulder, but that Sangati can be used as a tent. It can be used as a sleeping bag. It can be used for all kinds of things to protect the body. And so this is the reason why monks have these robes the way that they are, is because it's traditional, excellent camping gear. And so these are the three things of food, clothing, and food that are three of the requisites. And I'd like to talk to the fourth one more individually, and that is medical requisites. Now, the body generally doesn't need medicines, that we can get along quite well with the food that we have. In fact, a lot of the foods that we have already have medical benefits to it. And so, one of the things that Mikey had suggested is that many people have talked to him that they have actual medical issues, and the question would be how to handle that. The first one that I'll talk about is headaches. Now, there are two types of headaches. One is called a migraine, and the other one is called a tension headache. Migraines means that there's something generally neurologically a problem, which means that the headache will also affect sight and sound, so that it's hard to see and other things like this. And that the right way of dealing with a migraine headache is rest and relaxation. The other kind of headache is a tension headache, and it's far more common. Migraines don't happen very often, and there's generally people who have it uh, will have it chronically. I've met one person who had chronic migraines, and as far as I could tell, I couldn't see anything that she was doing that caused these migraines. Uh, so I don't really have a lot to say about them, but tension headaches are quite common. Now, what a tension headache means is actually there is tension in the body, and that it's normally in the shoulders or in the neck where there is tightness. Now, what happens is that the blood is pumped into the brain um, through the arteries, and then it drains out of the body through the jugular vein. But that when there is a lot of stress, a lot of tension in the body, then the blood doesn't flow out, but it keeps pumping in. And this is why tension headaches are often associated with throbbing headaches. Um, the headache can be dealt with by removing the tension in the body. An example of that would be by giving oneself a massage in the neck, moving the head around, or massaging all of the head. Now, one of the important things about headaches is that the brain doesn't have any neurology. There's no uh, neurons for touch inside the brain. That a headache can only be on the outside. So it's when we say a headache, it's actually a headache, not a brain ache. So because of that, the way to handle a headache is by massaging the head, getting some flow of blood. And this is quite easy to do, even if you're in a retreat. Like Dean is going to go to Wat Suan Mok and do the retreat there, and that they don't, let us say, require or talk about you having to sit really still. That still sitting is not really what the Buddha taught. He didn't say that thou shalt not move around, that if you feel sleepy, then rub the arms, rub the forearms, rub the face, and do whatever you can to get the circulation going again. Or you can stand up. Now, what this goes back to then is taking care of business means that you have to take care of the body. That when we say getting the right medical care, in this case, is a self massage. There's other things that we can do for the body. One person said that they get lightheaded, that they are their tone tend to faint, and also their arms begin to tingle. What this actually means is that they have low blood pressure, and that one of the things that can be done to counteract low blood pressure is, again, the massaging of the face, the massaging of the arms, moving the body around, getting some activity going. This isn't a major point, that we, in fact, can do a lot of stuff that needs to be done for the body before we get up and go off to the doctor. There's no need to have somebody else help you when you, in fact, can do almost all that you need. Another example would be when you have a neck crick, that by sleeping in the wrong position or doing other things can twist the neck, and then the neck is sore. The best way to handle that is by finding what the limits are and then stay within those limits, but exercise until you can begin to change those limits. Now, if you suddenly jerk or move the head, that's going to make the strain worse. And so taking care of business means that you do it with just enough. Just enough. That's the way to handle it. And so I'd now like to add a fifth one to the fore of taking care of ourselves and the body by having adequate housing, having adequate food, having adequate clothing, and having adequate medical attention. The fifth one is going to be Bhikkhu Buddhadasa uses the word entertainment, but we often use the word entertainment not in the way that he's using it. He's using it in the sense of structuring time. And that most people think of, let's go do something that's ill-advised. Let's go be entertained by something. An example would be going to a horror movie. Because when we have a horror movie, that means that we feel fear, but we know intellectually that that fear is manufactured, that it's not real. But the Buddha would not recommend going to horror movies. That in fact, you've got your own horror movie going on inside the head. That's why people want to go to a video horror movie, is so that they can watch somebody else's horror rather than having to deal with their own. So we can use this now as a lead off into Agnes's question. She got her son sent her a video about AI, and that all the rage, in fact, I'm using the word rage here not in the sense of anger, but more in the sense of panic, is that, oh, AI is taking over. Oh, everything is going to change, which basically means that we're having a lot of anxiety and fear over something that hasn't even happened yet. That in fact, what I've seen from AI is that it's something useful and valuable. It's not only a good way of entertaining, but it also, with questions that are asked carefully, you can get some good information. In fact, some of you may have noticed, but quite often I will cut and paste something that I've gotten from ChatGPT right onto Discord so that I don't have to answer the student's question. I'll just give them a, let us say, Dhammarato approved AI answer. So, I would highly recommend that you begin to gain skills with AI. Why is that? Is because in the article that Agnes had asked me to review, they talked about it in the sense that there's two possibilities. One is that the big shots, the very wealthy, the billionaires will own the AI and use it against ordinary people to make even more money. But the point is that AI, just like the air that we breathe, is cheap enough, and that you, in fact, can make sure for your future that you do have adequate food, adequate clothing, adequate housing by uh, gaining experience with AI so that you can, in fact, keep up with the world as it changes. You don't have to go into seclusion. And in fact, there may be no place to go into seclusion if you're not capable of getting into seclusion. And so the AI can help you to do that. It's just another tool. It's just another way of structuring your time. And by using AI, you can, in fact, um, keep your, let us say, keep your mind in a good state. Now, the next point that I would like to talk about is many of you have heard me talk about Paticca Samuppada, or dependent origination, which is a 12-step grouping from the Buddha. Of each step is dependent upon the self, upon the last one, and that we start off with ignorance and we wind up in dissatisfaction, we wind up in dukkha. But some of the sutras bring it back as to a cycle, in the sense that once we get to dukkha, now what do we do? Well, this is where the Eightfold Noble Path comes in. This is where the teaching of the Buddha actually gains some value. Now, most people, they want to deny their dukkha. They will say, oh, I'm feeling fine, when in fact they're miserable. In fact, they don't even want to admit that they are miserable to themselves. They're not willing to look at the dukkha. This is why the Buddha has the very first noble truth is that there is dukkha. It's got a cause, and you're it. You're the one who is creating your own dukkha. And that we don't have to be in a state of dissatisfaction or dukkha, and that there is a path to get out of it. But going back to the point about Paticca Samuppada, there is a reverse way of coming out of the dukkha. And so I would like to introduce to you the next step, in the sense of what is your business once you are established in the fact that you are in dissatisfaction, you are in dukkha. What do we do? Do we do nothing? Do we do just choiceless awareness and just let the dukkha ride? Do we note it well and see the dukkha, 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 and more dukkha? Or do we do something about it? This is more of taking care of business. Now, in the sutta, the Buddha says that once we see dukkha, that dukkha now becomes a prerequisite or a lead in into determination. Why is that? Is because once we see dukkha the way that it is, we have to see it in a way of, I've got to get out of this. So normally in the sequence of events, we go from denial to rejection, and then from rejection into dealing with it, or just accepting it the way that it is. In this case, the Buddha would recommend, once you see dukkha, it's time to deal with it. Deal with it, getting your business done, and that starts with what we would refer to as determination or conviction. In other words, once we see the dukkha, we got to do something about it. This is, in fact, what we would refer to then as the item on the Eightfold Noble Path of right noble effort. Once you see the dukkha, we got to take the right noble effort to do something about it. Now, in that sequence that the Buddha says is with this determination, with this right noble effort, that becomes a prerequisite for joy. In other words, we begin to take that effort to come out of the dukkha by gladdening the mind, by changing our attitude, by seeing that we, in fact, are creating this dukkha and we've got to do something about it. And once we start doing something about it, we can see that success. So that determination, that conviction, that right noble effort then turns into joy. And joy leads then to real joy, which is referred to in the sutras as piti. So we go from determination, I've got to do something about it. Taking the right noble effort will bring on sukha. Sukha will bring on piti. Piti, then, or really feeling good, feeling, wow, I've got this made, that was what leads to peace. This is not only just in a few sutras, but this is also the entire foundation, by the way, of the Eightfold Noble Path in its completion phase of the seven factors of enlightenment, where in that group, the Buddha says, unremitting, keep doing it over and over and over again with right noble effort to sati, to investigate. And once we investigate, the effort will rise into energy, and from that energy brings joy. So again, the Buddha is very consistent in the way that we practice. If you can see the dukkha and see it clearly, that should be an indication for you that if you can see the dukkha, that brings up right noble effort to do something about it. And that right noble effort to do something about it, when done over and over again, is the prerequisite then for joy, which is the prerequisite for great joy, which then is the prerequisite for relaxation. That brings on peace. And so you can see then that the Paticca Samuppada is not just a recipe for how we get started, that we wind up in dukkha, because we don't wind up in dukkha. We wind up in relaxation, in joy, in unification of the mind, because of that one thing, and that is seeing clearly the dukkha brings upon that determination, that right noble effort, that thing that we have to do something about this. This is again, what I mean by taking care of business. And then here we're talking about taking care of the business of dukkha. How do we do that? Is by change. We change out of it. We change out of the dukkha into the sukha. We change it by gladdening the mind. We change it by changing our attitude from being a victim of the dukkha into one who is taking care of it. We can do this. And this is, again, the path. And so today's talk on taking care of business actually has all of these qualities to it. Is that not only do we take care of business by taking care of housing and clothing and food and nourishment, and also taking care of the business of caring for the body by whatever medicines, the limited amount of medications that we need, but we also begin to take care of the future by taking care of the business, that the fact that times are going to change, are we going to be willing to not only have our joy now, but we can plan on taking that right noble effort to be happy in the future because we've got it made. We've done our business. But this one is about right now, and that is the dukkha, the dissatisfaction that we've got right now. How do we deal with it? We deal with it by the right noble effort. We do it because we are, in a way, driven. That dukkha is hot. Now, one of the examples that the Buddha uses is that a tender young infant, just days old, what would the tender infant do if mommy took a hot rock and touched the baby's skin on his hand? What is the baby going to do? A tender infant is going to withdraw his hand from that hot rock. Is that not true, Agnes? Yes. Okay. Well, what if mom is holding the hand? She's grabbed him by the arm, and now she's going to put that hot rock. What is the baby going to do then? He's going to resist her. He's going to pull back. And in fact, his mom can't even restrain the infant. The infant is going to withdraw from that pain. He's got the determination. It comes to us from birth. And so the natural reaction that we would have when being able to see the dukkha, this is why it's so important to practice being able to see, because most of us will deny the dukkha. Oh, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm not as miserable as I know I really am. But when we can see the dukkha, that will, by itself, by being able to see, will give us that energy to do something about it. That's the real quality of the teaching of the Buddha, that dukkha is the prerequisite for conviction. We are convicted in the sense that we've got to do something about this. We are determined to do something about it. Now, what we will find, in fact, with most people who get introduced to Buddhism, they'll take it as kind of an intellectual concept. Oh, yeah, there's the Four Noble Truths, and there is dukkha, and I understand this, that, and the other thing. That's not the same as actually seeing that that dukkha is burning you. It is hot. But you've been hot for so many years that we kind of gotten used to it. But once we can see it anew, once we recognize that that's painful and I can get out of it, that's where that determination comes in. That's where we say that the stress then is a prerequisite for determination. It's the prerequisite for conviction. It's the prerequisite. In other words, if you look at it from the Eightfold Noble Path part, is that we remember to look. Well, if we remember to look, what are we going to see? We're going to see the dukkha. And then the next step is the right noble effort to get out of it immediately. This is not rocket science. This is natural progression. I find it so amazing that people will come on and say, well, I'm not sure that the Buddha teaches about joy. I'm not sure he teaches about happiness. Well, that's because they haven't experienced the dukkha. Because when you experience the dukkha, there's nothing left to do but to do something about it. You gotta take care of the business of the dukkha. And when you get that determination, that is in fact the energy, the effort that you put in to get on the right Noble Path, and to remember to keep doing it. Remember to keep looking, because when you look, you'll see that dukkha, and that's going to get that determination back up again so that you'll do something about it. This is required. I know that Dean has gotten to the point that he can see that he has screwed up his life. He has really messed up. He sees that dukkha and the results of that dukkha. The same thing with Agnes. She could see that her drinking was ruining her life. It was dukkha. And that's when she decided to do something about it. This is not rocket science, folks. This is the Eightfold Noble Path. You have to see the dukkha. And that dukkha then is going to put you into the state of taking care of that business over and over and over and over again, because the dukkha is going to come back. It's kind of like a spring on a door. It keeps swinging back into the natural unhappiness that we have developed over the years. But we never could really see that unhappiness. Now we're going to take a close look. And by taking a close look, we can see, yeah, stuff is bad news. I've got to get out of here. It's like waking up and seeing that your house is on fire, because it is. Your mind is on fire. This is why you've heard it practice like your hair is on fire. Well, the only way to practice like your hair is on fire is to really see that your hair is on fire. It's not just a concept. Things are burning. The world is burning. It's hot. And yet most of the people are engaged with the world without recognizing how hot it is, how dangerous it is. That in fact, there is a line drawing that's on the wall at Wat Suan Mok that's quite beautiful in this respect. And the caption of it is, "Oh, boundless joy to see at last that there is no happiness in the world, that there is dukkha out there." And because of that, we can take the effort to get out of it. And there's where that boundless joy comes from. The boundless joy is joy on top of joy on top of joy. Oh, boundless joy to see, in fact, that there is no happiness, that there is only dukkha and suffering in the way that I've been living my life. And it's time to change. This is a change model. Take on that determination to actually make a change, to come out of our dukkha, to come out of the way that we've been dealing with other people, to come out of the way that we've been dealing with our own self, can see that dukkha and make a change. This is the teaching of the Buddha, is that you have to see the dukkha. This is why the Four Noble Truths is the lead point. There is dukkha. Hey guys, wake up. Can you see the dukkha? Because if you can see it, in fact, you will become determined to do something about it, to get out of it. So I've gotten myself worked up and I love it. So, Karwan, what do you think?
Dhammarato, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Well, a great talk. To be honest, I was a little bit distracted, but I was listening. So, yeah, practicing as your hair is on fire is the last thing I heard. And I must admit, I do that always, but as much as I can.
Mm.
Yeah,
See that
thank you.
dukkha, that will give you the determination to take care of your business. When you see
Yeah.
that that rock is hot, you will withdraw from it.
Hmm.
So, Mr. Ben, what do you think? He's out taking care of business. Agnes, what do you think?
Yeah. That's it. That's really, and it's kind of a gift or whatever to call it, to realize that, to see the dukkha in the way that brings on the change, because it can take a lot sometimes to be deep into misery to actually start seeing things. When it's just a little, it might, oh, it's not too bad, but when it gets really bad, it
Then you can't deny it anymore.
exactly, yeah. Even if
That's
I knew there was something terribly wrong, but it didn't get into me. It was kind of, well, maybe intellectual in a way. It didn't get into the body that this is really, really bad for me.
that,
Yeah.
that's something that we have to begin to see is that when you can see dukkha, that brings on that conviction, that determination, that right noble effort to do something about it, to get out of it. And yet
Yeah.
a lot of
No,
people go ahead.
yeah. There's no other option. It's
There's
the
no
only
other option.
way.
It's the
Yeah.
only way, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like that tender infant, when you put that hot rock on his hand, he doesn't have to think about hot. He doesn't think about rock. He just withdraws. He
Yeah.
does something about it.
Yeah.
And so that's the real point about today's talk is that we must take care of our business. And our business is that when we see the dukkha, we've got to do something about it. We can't go and say, "Oh, mommy, please take care of me." We got to be able to say, "I'm out of that stuff.
Yeah.
I've got to get up. I've got to take care of my own self. I've got to bring on that joy."
And to
So,
start actually to find out there is joy. For me,
mhm,
there was no joy, and I didn't know the way out. So I listened a lot to you about that. So I knew there was something in there, but I didn't really get it. But it started the whole thing.
mhm. Once you have that determination that you've got to get out of it,
Yeah,
just that starting to do something to get out of it, that's what brings on the joy. The
yeah,
joy is actually the success of being able to do something about coming out of that dukkha.
yeah,
So in that
exactly.
sense of the tender infant is really happy to move his arm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So Amit, what do you have to say?
Great, wonderful talk. And yeah, I was realizing while I was listening to you, I was taken by the hindrance of sloth and torpor. And I also realized that with it comes a little bit of a fear that I would not be able to come out of it. But while listening to you, I did some push ups, and now I'm out of it, and I'm filled with some happiness. So,
Yes.
yeah, definitely.
The happiness comes when we can see that we can get out of this, but we can't see that we can get out of it until we become determined, almost desperate to get out of it. If we don't have that quality of, "I've got to get out of this," then our practice is kind of mamby-pamby. It's sweet, it's nice, but we really, when we see the dukkha, then we can do something about it. But we really have to see that we create our misery. So,
Yeah.
Jose, what do you have to say?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Uh, Thank you, Dhammarato. Amazing talk. Really went in line with what I asked yesterday regarding Paticca Samutpada and if there was a positive way around it. So, thank you. Amazing talk. For me, regarding the little dukkha, let's call it this way, I think many times I can go directly to gladdening the mind. But sometimes it feels that I'm only sugarcoating it, meaning I can only solve it or start solving it if I'm really honest with it. okay, like, oh, this is really bad. Oh, I'm feeling really bad. I'm tired. I need to fix this. This is making me sad, and so on and so on. And for me, this is the major issue. Is sometimes I do not know if I'm really gladdening the mind or if I'm sugarcoating reality.
I think
Hello?
he lost connection.
Yeah, some network dukkha.
Yeah. Shitty Thailand internet. Okay. Well, yeah. I actually want to ask, like, how, like, I think that that desperation to get out of dukkha is wholesome, right? So the feeling of desperation itself is not bad. It's it's like how we cling to it. Okay. Hello, Dhammarato.
Yes,
Dhammarato.
we're back. We
Is Mara getting into your internet? I think the Mara
sister
got you the
was
internet. You need to install Buddha Dhamma anti-Mara software.
well. I don't think that's what the Wi-Fi needs. So you were talking when we lost our Wi-Fi.
So I'm not sure what passed. Thank you for the talk. It was really in line with what I asked yesterday. I was just mentioning. For me, one of the biggest challenges regarding dukkha and little dukkha is sometimes it's difficult to understand if I'm really gladdening the mind, or if I'm sugarcoating reality. You, I usually can work
Okay,
this around, but
because if you do see the reality clearly, you say, "I
yeah,
got to get out of that kind of reality."
yeah,
That's what the real point about the Eightfold Noble Path, especially the First Noble Truth, is that we can kind of see it, like gladdening the mind. Oh, everything is kind of okay, and that reality is kind of bad, but that means that we haven't really seen it yet, because if we see it, and that's why I use the example that the Buddha used of the tender infant, when you put a hot rock close to his hand, that doesn't take any knowledge. It's hot, and the baby knows it, and so it withdraws from that immediately. This is the quality that we're looking for, is to be able to practice well enough so that you can see that dukkha, see it clearly.
yeah. It's like a road fork, going straight to gladdening the mind, or first you have to be honest with yourself, with the kind of dukkha that you are feeling. And sometimes I think that I take not the wrong one, but I take the longer path. I skip the be honest with what you are feeling and go straight to gladdening the mind, and then I have to
Right.
come back.
But the right noble effort is only really noble effort once we do that step two of really investigating and really seeing that dukkha. Once we really see the dukkha, then we have that determination. We have, I've got to do my business. And yet I can see how it's very easy for people to say, oh, Dhammarato teaches to remember to gladden the mind. And because of that, there is no real value in it. It doesn't have that power that we have of being able to see the dukkha, because if we could see it, that becomes a conviction, a determination. I've got to do something about this. So, Steve, go ahead. Go ahead, Joseph.
Can being a too positive person be actually a hindrance?
Yes, it is. It's not real. Being an optimist is just as bad as being a pessimist. There is a word called metanoia that's exactly opposite of paranoia, and that the correct way is reality noia, to see things the way that they really are. Because if there is dukkha in that reality, now we can do something about it. But if we have that metanoia, oh, the world's going to take care of me and everything is going to be all right. Like AI, oh, AI is never going to come and everything is going to be okay. That's just denial. We have to say, no, AI is coming and we got to do something about it. We got to get prepared for this stuff.
Thank you.
So, Christina, welcome. Glad to see you come late.
Better late than never. Good morning. Yeah, I appreciated the talk, and I kind of lean with Agnes on this, where there's kind of like a feeling of like gratitude for I don't know, like the past experiences, to be able to change them, because without having the dukkha, you can't do anything about it. So it kind of lightens the grip.
Right, that's what it is that if we can see the dukkha, then we can do something. But just hearing Dhammarato yap on about dukkha is not enough to actually see how hot it is. So, Rose, what do you think?
Yeah, thank you. I think more effort on my part to see more subtle dukkha and do something about it, not just the gross, more unbearable stuff. So, yeah, just more attention on that.
Good. So, Timo, what do you think?
Thank you, Dhammarato. I can relate to what everyone said. Enjoyed the talk.
Let's see who else. Oh, Red. What do
Yes.
you have to say?
Fuck the underlying tendencies. Just look at that shit up. Look how much we make stuff up and just yak it like. Bah! I don't know how exactly how to do it, but because I see that you say, "Oh, I see you, Mara," and what else?
So
What
that
else,
I see you, Mara, actually has two qualities. One, it's got the power of I actually see it, but it also has the quality of coming out of that dukkha.
It's like double duty.
Yeah, it's got the double duty of the right noble effort as well as the seeing.
So that is what must be done, basically. That's what must be done, I guess.
So, Robert, you just showed up. Glad you're an hour late. Was that
thank you.
Because of the time?
Yes, I got it wrong in time. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
So, Dean, do you have any?
No, all good, Dhammarato. Thanks very much.
Okay, so Mikey, can you take this ship home?
Yeah, thanks, friends, for being here today. Yeah, this has been a splendid call. Yeah, thanks, Agnes, as well, for bringing up the topic, and Dhammarato for putting it all together. Yeah, friends, go ahead and stay on the call if you'd like. Dhammarato's going to leave, but we can keep hanging out and keep chatting on the noble Buddha Dhamma. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, come join us here on the Dhamma Friends Discord server. And you can join us here in the Hangout channel. And any of you as well are welcome to join the Hangout channel really any day, anytime. And yeah, you can keep chatting on the Noble Dhamma and keep making friends here. And that's really what the practice is all about, noble friendship. So yeah. Also, go ahead and leave a like and comment if you're watching us on YouTube. Share this video with a friend. You can listen to these talks as well on Spotify, iTunes, or other podcasting platforms. And we invite you to check out opensanghafoundation.org with various resources such as books by Bhikkhu Buddhadasa and a Sangha map with many locations of many watts. So yeah, thanks again, friends, for being here today. Take care, take it easy. Don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry, my friends. Be happy. See that dukkha and change it. Thank you all for coming.
And do it again. Again.
Thanks, Dhammarato.
Again. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.